and welcome to a CX Moment. I'm Roisin Hunt with Zendesk, and we're so glad that you're here with us today. For anyone who's new to a CX Moment, these are candid conversations that are an opportunity to hear some insights and experiences from leaders navigating the world of support, and hopefully giving you some practical nuggets of wisdom that you can take back to your own teams. In this episode of a CX Moment, we're joined by Whitney Connor, Director of Customer Support at Mizuno USA. And for those of us who maybe don't know, Mizuno is a sports equipment company with iconic merchandise for running, golf, baseball, and other sports. Whitney has been with Mizuno USA for almost 20 years in various roles in the support organization. And we're so excited to hear her insights on how Mizuno is building brand loyalty with their customers through support. But before we dive in, we would love to hear from you. You can leave us comments on LinkedIn or in the chat. A little bit of a cheeky question today. What is your favorite sport from the list below? We've got golf, running, baseball, soccer, swimming, or if you're like me, sports. What is that? So let us know. And you can also ask questions in the chat throughout today's conversation. We want to make this as interactive as possible for you. So get your questions in there for Whitney. All right, that's enough from me. Let's hear from Whitney. Welcome, Whitney. Thanks so much for being with us here today.
Hello, how are you?
Great. Well, let's start first with you, Whitney. I mean, you started as an agent and you're now the Director of Customer Support. And I know it was a love of golf that initially brought you to Mizuno. So tell us a little bit about your own journey at Mizuno to where you are today.
Sure. So right out of college, so I am a golfer, as you know. Right out of college, I started temping. You know, my family was they were telling me just get a job. You know, my goal was to work in the golf industry. And fortunately, a customer support role opened up, and I took it. It was my chance to get my foot in the door with obviously a company in the industry that I wanted to work in, which was golf. And over time, I learned to love the brand. I learned to love what I was doing, but I also found things that I was good at, which was order management, customer support, and so I was recognized over time. For the projects that I was working on and learning the ins and outs of a lot of the applications we were using. And so I started to manage the team for order management. And then over time, when it was probably 6 years ago now, when it came time to find a new leader for the customer support department, I was answering everyone's questions because I knew the ins and outs of the systems we were working with, the processes that we do. And so it just made sense that I took over leading the customer support team.
Amazing. And you did, when we spoke earlier, you mentioned that the teams are divided by sports. So there's the golf team, the running, the team sports, as well as a very differentiated difference between customers and consumers. So can you give us a little bit of understanding about how your teams are structured?
Absolutely. So as far as the divisions go, so obviously we have different sports, which you've mentioned. Golf is its own animal, we like to say, because it's a humongous division for us, but it's very specialized in what our agents need to know. So they are their own department. And then with the other departments we've got a running. There's agents specialized in the running division. And then we also have team sports, which that would be like baseball, softball, volleyball, any new sports that we've added over the years. So tennis, swimming, and training were added recently too. So we're broken out into specialties by division. And then when you're thinking of consumers and customers, so when we're talking to customers, those are our retailers, the brick and mortar stores that are purchasing directly from us and carrying our products. The consumer is who's, obviously they're purchasing from our website. They're calling about warranty questions about product. They're calling about product questions. What's, the best iron to hit here, or what's the best glove for a catcher? So that's the difference between consumer and customer. Previously, and years ago, we were broken out into consumer and customer divisions within the customer support department. But what we were able to do with Zendesk is we have brought the teams together. So our agents now can focus can handle both a consumer and a customer inquiry. So their conversations could change, from call to call. They could be talking to a consumer where they could be talking to a customer. So our golf team helps both customers and consumers. And then we have the team sports and running team who can help customers and consumers.
So really those teams used to be quite siloed and now they're starting to become more blended. And there is a question in the chat already. Does your team work in the office? Are they at home? Are they hybrid? So maybe give us a sense of like how they're operating, interacting with each other and customers and consumers.
That's actually a great question. Obviously with COVID, a lot of things changed. We were solely in the office before COVID hit. And then obviously our facilities had to close, the offices closed. We were forced to figure out how to work remotely, and we did it. So for at least 2 months, when the offices were closed, the entire team was working remote. And then as things started to open up, we gradually started to bring teams back in the office. And what we ended up developing, and we're sticking with this because there hasn't been a policy, a forced policy from management yet, but we are on a 2-week rotation. So agents will spend time 2 weeks in the office, and then 2 weeks they're working from home. And the reason, and this was a team decision to do, it wasn't one, we're just going to do this and try it, but the team decided they didn't want to take all their equipment home every day or every week. And so they wanted to do a 2-week rotation. And what it does is it actually gives them the best of both worlds, because we have a lot of people who they don't want to do the commute, they don't, gas money. But then we have people who just want to see people and they want to be working, in an office. So you're actually getting the best of both worlds. So we have it's a hybrid schedule, but it's a rotating shift.
And then in that hybrid schedule, are they cohorts that move through those schedules together, or is it individualized?
It's individualized. Over time, obviously, when you get that rotation, 2 people get stuck together, but we do want there to be a variety. We want you to be interacting with other individuals. And, because people are taking vacation too, the schedules do tend to adjust, and we do end up working, with different people in the office.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into a really interesting fact that you shared when we spoke earlier about how the different customers like to interact differently with support and, the volume that goes up and down. So you mentioned, after the Masters, golf customers, they like to talk on the phone. And I wrote down that you had 900 calls with one agent taking 200 calls. So how do you, with vacations, this hybrid model, how do you manage busy times of the year? And are there seasonal times that are very particular to the different teams?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually, there's a complex answer, because that was a lot right there. So all of our divisions are, the way they want to interact with us is different. And you mentioned golf, and it's, even after the Masters was humongous. The 900 call day is something like we've never seen before. That is the highest volume ever. But golf customers in general like to talk. They want to call us. They want to hear their specs read back to them. So they by far always have the highest call volume, and they are our biggest support team. And running is completely different, where they're more tech savvy. So they will be sending us emails, or they're going to chat to us, and they want to talk to us through technical communication. So the customer mix is different, for each division. But as far as the different, how do we handle the volumes? Obviously, we have more support for golf because they're higher volume. But is it seasonal? Absolutely seasonal, because you're dealing with, the Masters were huge and golf season is ramping up. Baseball just got started, so we were busy, weeks prior getting everyone their baseball equipment. And then, running, of course, that's more of they're more of a plateau, because people are running yearly, and you can run indoors, you can run outdoors, but, absolutely the volumes are different and seasonal. So, and so it does fluctuate, what we're handling over time. And there are times when we know we need to bring in interns. We know this season is going to be extremely busy, and especially right now for golf. So.
Yeah, so it's so interesting because there's nuances to each of the different types of customers, and the way that they like to interact is it's so interesting. Just like a cohort of people who have different interests like to interact differently. And Heather has a question about like just how many agents are in the department. Like, what is the size of the team that's kind of working on these different customer interactions?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have 16 total within the department, and more than half of them are on the golf side.
Mm-hmm. And then another question from the audience. They're chatty today, which is great. Do you have different tiers then in the customer support, like frontline, back office, and then how do they collaborate with each other for, the best possible outcome for the customers and consumers?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have a customer support level 1. So that's when you first start, you're a level 1 agent. And then we have, over years, we go through training. We have training phases that you complete, and you will tier up to a customer support level 2. And then we have team leads, once you've, developed that expertise and are with us longer seniority. And then we've supervisors. There is another team within the customer support department that is order management. They are not on the phones. They are not answering tickets or chats, but they are just facilitating order flow. So, but everybody else is customer or consumer facing.
And then, you talk about the golf folks wanting to get on and talk about different products and what's the best, like, club for this. Pardon, I'm going to butcher all the language around it, but it sounds like with the work that you've been doing with the agents, they've become more knowledgeable about the customer journey and their interests and what's important to them to like build that loyalty. What is the impact for the agents, on an individual professional level, based on the work that you've been doing with them over the last few years, moving to Zendesk, streamlining processes, etc.?
Well, being able to combine the customer consumer agent, it makes them a well-rounded agent. So they're having those technical conversations with, the consumer about how this product, they're interacting with the product. But at the same time, the next call might be that they're talking to our end retailer and, we're just trying to place an order. We need to place a return, so they're a well-rounded agent learning so much about all the different business processes, with consumers, have to reach out specifically to product teams. So by far, it makes them so much more well-rounded.
And then how does that well-rounded aspect impact or translate for the customer or the consumer? Like, what's the impact of them being so knowledgeable?
It's just a better experience. They're talking to somebody who knows our product. They're talking to somebody that actually uses our product. Usually, there's nobody on the team who doesn't use any of our equipment. So, even when a customer calls us just to place an order, having just talked to a consumer, we know how this is going to impact their customer. So we know, how the whole experience for everyone is, we're just better well-rounded with the brand, with the sports that we're in.
Well, it's interesting because Jose has a comment. As a former Division 1 college golfer, Mizuno is one of the best equipment manufacturers when it comes to irons. At one point, Rory McIlroy, my friend, not really, but used prototype Mizuno irons. So you have a lot of fans out there, for sure.
We like it.
And we love the agents. Sorry, go ahead.
Little known fact is Tiger Woods, too, had used our equipment before he turned professional. He was using Mizuno.
Wow, that is the gold standard for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to change tacks a little bit, Whitney, because when we spoke, you mentioned some of the challenges that you and leadership had been focusing on to kind of integrate all of these different pieces. And I know we just touched on it, but tell us more about how things used to be and then what you've done and now how things are, because I think that's a very interesting journey to share with the audience.
Yeah. I think one of our biggest accomplishments moving to Zendesk was we have integration now with our ERP system, and we're also integrated with sales, because what we had before was what customer support was using was a standalone platform, interacted with nothing. The only thing we did was log in and answer tickets. That's all we were doing. We collected consumer information and we shared it with marketing teams, but there was nothing. It was integrated with nothing. our sales team was also using a CRM platform, which integrated with nothing. So there were two standalone platforms that didn't talk to anything. We were just using them, on our own little planets, essentially. But what we were able to do is we now, both platforms, sell and support, are integrated with our ERP system, customer information, flowing information back and forth, but they're also integrated together. So we're connecting the organization, we're connecting our customer information, and we also have our credit team is also using Zendesk support.
Because if I understand correctly, the sales folks are often in the field, like they're not just at a desk, so they're on the fly having to like capture and integrate this information to make sure that it's all in the one place.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what the sales team's able to do is enter a ticket directly from the customer, the contact that they're in, directly to the support team. So there's the connection is there, and we're able to interact like I said, the credit team too. So, we open and close tickets. And when the sales team can go in and see what's open for each of the customers that they're at, are their tickets open? What was the last interaction that the customer support team had with that customer? So it's a better experience for sales, better experience for the customer, because they know, that we know who their last interaction was with or what it was about.
So the tools are really building relationships internally. So like breaking down the kind of silos or the friction points internally for a better external experience.
Exactly.
And then a question from Natalie coming in, just going back to the high volume times. Do you partner with an external company during those times, or how do you flex up and down with volume?
As of yet, no, we're not partnered with external teams. There are temps that the credit team will utilize. We have brought in interns ourselves. Our order support platform for our website, MizunoUSA.com, is actually supported by an external team. That's the only external team that we work with.
Got it. And then loads of questions coming in, Whitney. So I think we're going to move a little bit to these. They might feel a little bit out of order, but I want to make sure we answer as many questions as possible. Nicholas has a question, any advice for someone taking over the customer support management position and using Zendesk in order to make the most of Zendesk? So I know this is something you've just had very recent experience with. So what advice would you give someone, if you were starting all over again, or someone in your position?
I would work very closely with Zendesk integration teams. And that's what we did. We went through training, all of the departments, sales and support, credit. We all went through training. We went through the word for it, how to build the platform. We went through that with Zendesk team as well. So being heavily involved. And then once you take that knowledge, I can do the administration for the Zendesk platform myself, and which was not the case with the previous platform we had. We had external partners we had to rely on. So I would say work as closely as you can with the Zendesk team, and just know, what your SLA expectations are, and the KPIs that you're trying to hit. Going into a platform like this, you probably already know what your KPIs and your expectations are, but you can build those within the platform. It's great.
And so when it comes to KPIs and metrics and stuff, what are you tracking for customer satisfaction or resolution? Like what are you currently tracking?
So we do have all of our SLAs set up for a 24-hour response. So, and if there is anything that is close to breaching, I think we have them set up for an hour. There's some of depending on the level of the ticket, some set up for 2 hours in advance. We know the agent is notified, the supervisor is notified, and if something does end up breaching, then everyone is notified that the ticket is breached. So those are the SLAs are something we're completely on board and total control over. Mm-hmm. Some of the things we are working towards is, better reporting in the Explorer, which was our goal, and that's going to be our goal for this year, is to better build those metrics, because what we had prior to Zendesk, which Zendesk will solve, once we get out of the time crunch of, not having time to do things, but all of our KPIs come from different places. So we had a chat tool, we had a report there. We have our call metrics come in from a different place, and then we do reviews and all of that, but we want all of our metrics in one place. How many tickets and how many chats can an agent handle? So those are our goals, to build better reports for this coming year. But yeah.
And I think that leads very nicely into a question from Caroline. It's like, how do you ensure that you're measuring customer satisfaction on the interaction rather than the review of the product itself? And do you differentiate between that? Have you thought about how to measure that, or are you currently doing something there?
Not currently doing something. I mean, we do want to add surveys at some point. We do company corporate-wide surveys. We've done that over the past 2 years to our customers. But as far as the actual interaction, engaging, and surveys there, we have not started that yet. But it is something we're looking to do.
It's on the roadmap. There's that. We got to build the foundation first before we roll out the rest of the phase. But it sounds like you've achieved a lot of efficiencies and streamlining between the internal teams. And there was a customer once said, if you can eliminate any friction points and have less seams behind the scenes, then there's less cracks for anything for the customer to experience and fall through. So I think you've done an amazing job of getting to that point where you're connecting the dots. So which leads me to a question from Chris. When we think about what's next for you, Whitney, and the team, are you currently using anything around AI? Have you been thinking about integrating that into your process?
We're talking about like chats and chat bots and
I think automation, chat bots, anything that will kind of automate the experience for the customer or consumer. Yeah.
The chatbot is definitely in our sites. We've not set it up yet, but Zendesk was going to be our end goal to get there. But we are currently researching a new OMS platform. So I think a lot of that is going to be built in there to build in. We want to do like a knowledge base for consumers as well. But yeah, we're not there yet.
Yeah. More to come, like we said, and a lot of the questions that are coming in are very technical, very detailed. They want to know everything that you're doing. But one question from Michelle is, was your service always 24/7, or did you transition to that at some point from less service hours?
So we're not completely 24/7. So our order support, which is actually the external team, is 24/7 from our website. As far as the internal team, we are not 24/7. We are Monday through Friday. There are 3 different shifts though. So we have an early shift, a middle shift, and then a later shift to service the West Coast customers. But as of right now, we are not 24/7. We did try to do like a Saturday, Sunday shifts, but we found that there wasn't much business and contact there, but our order support is 24/7.
People are out golfing and running and swimming and doing all of those things on the weekends. They'll come back to you on Monday.
Exactly.
Well, we're almost at time, Whitney, but I just want to, there's one question from Aurelia. I'm sorry if I butchered your name, but when it comes to your agents, they're so specialized. They're, like you were a golf fanatic, you wanted to get into the golf industry, and you're talking to customers about the products that you're using. Do you have any different skill requirements between recruiting agents for one sport versus another? Or does that just kind of happen naturally with their interest?
It's actually a great question. And, we do support training, but we do look for specialized athletes, and what we have found over time is the longevity. Anyone that's passionate about a sport, passionate about once they get in the door, passionate about the brand, those people stay longer. They end up in different departments within the organization. We've seen promotions within the last 6-7 years to various. We have people in sales, marketing. I can't tell you how many people I have hired across this organization that have started in these roles. So we do look for specialized athletes who are passionate about sports, and they are good at customer service too, but for longevity's sake, the athletes are who stay.
That's great, and you're a testament to that too, you know,
Exactly.
with your journey at Mizuno. So we have 2 more questions before we wrap up. I think we could probably answer questions all day here, but Ashley wants to know, you know, how long have you been? I'm back. I don't know what happened, but we're almost at the end. We nearly made it. So Whitney, you probably answered my question while I was offline about how long you've been using Zendesk.
I did not. No, we went live June of last year.
Wow. Okay, so just not even 1 year in.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Whitney. What's next on the agenda? We know you've got a lot of things in the pipeline around AI, a bot, data. What's the next thing you're going to tackle this year?
Well, for sure, we're going to build the metrics that I was talking about, you know, because for a long time it was, you know, obviously our call volume a day of 900, we need more people. And it's hard to say that to somebody without the true numbers. This is how much an agent can handle. So that is going to be next.
Great. Well, we wish you every luck in your journey, and thank you so much for your time today. It's been a phenomenal conversation. We could go all day, but unfortunately we are out of time. So thanks to you, Whitney.
Thank you as well.
And thanks to you at home watching. Apologies for the technical difficulties. We hope you enjoyed the session, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. So please rate your experience of today's session. We've got a survey link in the chat and the comments, and you can be in with a chance to win a $20 Amazon gift card. We'll be back with the CX Moment in June, but in the meantime, please join us for Relate on May 10th, our flagship event. You can tune into the live keynote broadcast from San Francisco. We'll have fresh product announcements, our new capabilities with Zendesk AI, and hear from Bees, a part of AB InBev company, on their transformational journey. It's broadcast 5 times around the globe, so I am sure that you will find a time that works for you. The link is in the chat. In the meantime, from us at Zendesk, we'll see you very soon, and take care.